Hey everyone, it's GamingWiz108 and welcome to my first podcast on the channel. In today's episode, I'll be talking about a topic that I have been thinking about for a while now, and that is Reload the best game mode in Fortnite? In my opinion, the answer is yes, and I'll be explaining why. Now, before we head into it, I want to make some things clear. So first off, this is my opinion. If you don't agree with it, that is completely fine. You can let me know what you think and why you disagree. Secondly, I will not be covering some game modes such as Creative, Festival, Rocket Racing, and even Zero Build, because they all work differently. Creative is more diverse in that there's many more experiences you can, you know, do in Creative other than just Battle Royale-style maps. There's Tycoon maps, there's Death Runs, there's even horror maps. So I feel like it doesn't fit in the same category regarding this topic, right? Festival and Rocket Racing are both for a very specific group of Fortnite players, so again, kind of the same deal, they don't fit into the same category. And Zero Build, now the interesting thing with Zero Build was before even recording this, I was debating on considering adding Zero Build as, for the topic today. However, I want to clear up as to why I don't think so. Zero Build is an interesting case to talk about because while it isn't exclusive to just Battle Royale, I think it's still important to talk about it in a way as a whole different game mode because, well, it feels like a different game than Battle Royale, right? Zero Build was first introduced as a temporary mini event of some sort to kick off Chapter 3 Season 2 way back in April 2022, right? It was only initially for the first week of that season, and even though the intention behind it was related to the story of the game, it was a change that many players loved, which led to it being a permanent mode. And while it is now a feature that can be used in either Battle Royale, OG, or Reload, I still think it's more enjoyable in Reload, which ultimately will tie back as to why I think Reload is the best game mode. So, with all that being said, let me go ahead and explain why. I think it is important for me to compare Reload to the other game modes in Fortnite, like Battle Royale and OG, because I think it's important to discuss where and why I believe Reload does better than each of these game modes. So OG. OG Fortnite is without a doubt a great way for players to experience and even relive the old days of Fortnite. I'm sure many players are enjoying being able to experience the old seasons again, and with the upcoming live event that is happening in OG, I'm sure many more are excited to be able to experience the Rocket event. However, there are also some parts that, even with the improved OG Fortnite, players might not like as much. For one, the slow pacing of matches is still present in OG Fortnite. Many games feel like it is repeating the same formula as before, where, the first 10 minutes of a match is usually spent looting and farming for builds, while the rest of the match is where the action comes and goes. What this means is the real joy that players get from OG Fortnite matches is really only experienced in the later half of the matches, where the action slowly but surely goes up. However, in Reload, that is not the case. From the moment you jump out of the battle bus and you land, you are able to get right into the action as soon as you pick up a weapon. The smaller spaces between POIs also help in Reload. In contrast to OG, where each spot feels like they are miles away from each other, in Reload it feels like every spot on the map are connected. The intense action from matches can even reach the corners of the reload map, which a lot of players would see differently for OG Fortnite. I'm sure many Fortnite players are familiar with the term AFK the bus, which is a term that is used to describe when you end up stepping away from the game for a while, and as a result, you end up landing on the corners of the map where it is not as populated. The same cannot be said for Reload, where, again, the action reaches in every little bit of the maps. So in conclusion, what Reload does better than OG Fortnite is the pacing and the map structure. Now, before I continue, I just want to make sure I clear up. I'm not saying that OG Fortnite sucks. Again, I myself enjoy the mode, right? And I'm sure many more do. I'm just explaining why I think Reload is better than OG. You know. Next is Battle Royale. Battle Royale is a game mode that is constantly updating, and with a game like Fortnite, you might already be saying, well, yeah, that is obvious, right? But in Fortnite, that's different because each time we progress to a new season, a lot of changes and updates are made that make Battle Royale feel very different each time. It isn't just the weapons and landmarks that are just changed, you guys. The game itself changes. I'm of course referring to the new mechanics that are introduced, new gimmicks that changes the way we experience Battle Royale, movement, new setting options, and even power-ups. If you guys remember, a couple seasons ago, we were in the second Marvel season, which was also the Doom season. That season brought a lot of new Marvel-themed items such as Captain America's shield, Doom's gauntlet, and more. And while there were many players that enjoyed the new weapons, there was also players that did not enjoy the new changes. But just to be clear, this system of new changes being made and not everyone is happy with, that's not something that Fortnite is particularly, it's not something that's new to them, right? But as we see in the later seasons, this is becoming more frequent, which is undeniably causing more and more players to grow a disinterest in experiencing the Battle Royale mode. Reload is a fresh of breath air, as it allows players to experience a more traditional Battle Royale format. Reload doesn't introduce new mechanics like the ones I just described. Rather, it allows players to be able to enjoy using actual weapons, whether it be ARs, shotguns, or pistols, without needing to worry about another player using a more powerful weapon. I'm not saying that having better weapons is bad, but if by having a more powerful weapon means someone has a mythic gauntlets that lets you shoot powerful beams from across the map, then there's always going to be people that won't be able to enjoy the game. Think back to Chapter 1, Season 7, where the mythic sword was introduced. It was an insane and powerful weapon for sure, but the issue that I just mentioned existed even back then. If a casual player logged on and knew that there was a kid who could potentially beat them, not with better aim, but by having a larger sword, then they might not enjoy the game. And this wasn't just casual players, you guys. I mean, if you guys remember, they added the mythic sword to the Winter Royale back in Chapter 1, Season 7. And if you guys remember, if you guys have any fond memories of that, you'll remember that, you know, in conclusion, some kid won lots of money because of a sword, right? And I know that might sound lame now, but I want you guys to go ahead and look back at old footage of that and tell me that that's not crazy. Or at the very least, a bit insane, right? So that's why I think Fortnite Reload is the best game mode, right? As I just explained, in comparison to OG Fortnite, it has better pacing and map structure. In Battle Royale, it removes the overcomplicated and sometimes overwhelming new changes that Battle Royale brings every time. And again, like I said, new changes in Battle Royale is not something that's necessarily bad, but we've seen a lot of new changes that they've brought to the game that a lot of players do not like. The parkour movements, right? A lot of players like that because it allows for better, movement around, in Battle Royale, right? But if you guys remember, a lot of people seem to be a bit concerned when there was mentions and even leaks about, wall jumping or being able to climb up walls, right? Because it pretty much it diminished the, I guess you could say, the 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 skill that it came with having to build and edit, right? Because if someone was able to jump over your box or they were able to jump from the wall and, avoid damage, then, a lot of players might think like, okay, well, what's the point of building if, people can just jump around, right? And like I said with OG doesn't suck, but the slow pacing that it had way back is still present, even in the new OG Battle Royale mode, right? Even in the OG Fortnite mode that we have right now. So that is why I think Fortnite Reload is the best game mode in Fortnite. I also want to quickly mention over some smaller, I guess, uh, additional details that I think makes Fortnite Reload a the best game mode in Fortnite. The potential it has, right? This is the big one, right? Potential. So the potential that Reload has to become even better is it's right there, right? And you might be wondering, what do I refer when I say that, right? What I mean is the maps, right? So in Reload, we have three maps, right? We have Oasis. No, actually, no. Oasis was removed. Yeah, so I should have brought that up. So Oasis was removed. So that's the desert map, right? That brought back, I believe it was that one hotel, right? It wasn't Sweaty Sands. It was a hotel, right? That was in Chapter 1, right? But they removed the map, right? So on Fortnite Reload, we only have three maps. It's Venture, which is the quote-unquote OG map where it has Tilted Towers, Pleasant Park, Retail Row, Lone Lodge, stuff like that, right? We also have Slurp Rush, which is the one where they brought back Slurpy Swamp, and the Lighthouse, and some other places from Chapter 2, right? And then we also have the Squid Grounds map, which was a map that they introduced as part of the collaboration with Squid Games, right? But the reason why I say the potential is there for Fortnite Reload to become an even better game mode is the possibilities with maps, right? So we've seen them do this thing where they'll make a map out of some spots from chapter 1, and then they'll make a separate map for the rest of the spots and add new ones. So we saw them do this with chapter one's map, right? Where most of the iconic spots from chapter 1 were in the venture map, right? But it was still missing some spots, and a lot of people noticed that, right? So the remaining spots were in a way added to the Oasis map, right? Which is the desert-like map, right? Um, and then we saw them do something similar where Slurpy Swamp, they brought back, as long as some other iconic, as well as some other iconic maps from the Chapter 2 map, right? Some other places from that chapter, right? However, there's still a lot more spots from Chapter 2 that I know a lot of players are going to be quick to notice, like, hey, it's not on the Slurpy Swamp map, right? And that is, of course, the agency, right? We still have the agency. Um, we still have not. It wasn't Greasy Grove. It was Misty Meadows, right? It was Misty Meadows, right? A lot of players remember that spot from Chapter 2, right? So I'm sure that in future we could possibly see a new Fortnite Reload map that has the rest of the Chapter 2 places, right? And again, there's more potential, right? They have the entirety of the Chapter 3 map, right? They have the Chapter 4 map, and as crazy as it might sound, they also have the Chapter 5 map technically. So they do have the potential there, guys. I really do see the I guess you could say the vision, right? I could definitely see that there's a chance for Reload to become even bigger and better, right? Um, but that's gonna be it for this podcast. Again, this was my first time doing this, so let me know down below if I did well or if I need, improvement. Um, but that's gonna be it for it, guys. Let me know down below or wherever really what you think about this first podcast on my channel. So, thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day/night.